Today, we will be reviewing how to proof and submit pages in the Memory Book Online program. This webinar will be approximately 20 to 30 minutes long. You will be able to review the topics we are covering today in the manual starting on page 186 and under the Creation and Design section. So where I'm at right now, I'm just in the page designer. I've got a page spread here that I'm ready to complete and submit and send that in for printing. So when your pages are complete, one thing how or what you will use to send those pages in is when you're in the page designer, you will pull up the PreFlight menu that we have in the program. So to access or locate that PreFlight panel, down in the bottom right corner of the designer, you're going to see this little 2-button toggle here real quick. If we click on the top button of this, it's going to open up our comment section right there on the side. So at first, this panel first pulls up comments, but if we slide over and click on this little caution tab that's right here, we're going to pick up the PreFlight side. So the PreFlight panel here we go, bring stuff up. So the PreFlight panel, this is going to help you with, it's going to show you if there's any errors on the page. So if you have, an empty text box or an empty image box, those are going to be showing right here for that page. And it looks like page 61 then also has a text element that may not fit there as well. So when you're looking at these, so in this one, an image element remains unedited. If you click on one of these issues in your PreFlight panel, it's going to highlight where that is on the page. So in this case, I'm actually going to have to switch over to kind of the more back end of the program here to kind of show this. Just wasn't able to get these pages unsubmitted in time from the walkthrough we had the other day. So I'm going to jump over. It's going to look exactly the same, just a little different stuff on top there. I'm going to bring up the PreFlight panel here. And again, so here on the PreFlight panel, it's going to, if we click on an issue, it's going to highlight where that is on the page. So in this instance, an image element remains unedited. That just means empty photo box. That highlighted right here on the page. But it looks like it is behind this photo. So there's a couple different ways that we can actually grab that, select it, remove it. In that way, we're able to complete our page. One thing about the program, it's not going to complete a page if there's any unedited elements on it, such as an empty text box or empty image box there. So one of the first things, whenever you click on the issue there in the PreFlight panel, it does go ahead and select it, right where it's at. So if that's the only thing that highlighted and you're pretty sure that's just an empty image box, you can just hit the delete or backspace key on your keyboard, and that'll take it right out of the, take it off the page. And then if we were to then save, that issue is no longer showing in our PreFlight panel as an issue that is there. I'm going to undo that here real quick. Okay, so now I've got my error back because I undid it. So another way, if it's highlighted here, another thing that you can do is, since that you have it selected and it's selected on the page, you are able to use the arrange tool, and that's this little little drop down that has 3 stacked pieces of paper. And so if you weren't totally sure of what that thing was that was behind there, with it selected, you can use the arrangement tools, and let's just bring it to the front. And that way, okay, yes, we can definitely see that this is just an empty photo box that's here. I no longer need it, so I'm going to delete it. The other way that we could have done that is, when it was still behind, so we know that it's back behind this photo, We could even just select this larger photo that was on top, and on the arrange tool, just do a send to back for that to come forward as well. Okay, so I'm gonna take that off there and I'm gonna hit save. And now this is no longer an issue that is in my PreFlight panel. So now I do have one more, and it's a text element remains unedited. And that's just an empty text box that just happened to slip in and got stuck up here in the top right corner. Again, if you click on an issue in the PreFlight panel, it just highlights where that is on a page, and then you can hit delete to take it right off of there. And then we'll just hit save. Now at this moment, this is just showing us that page 60 does not have any more issues that we need to resolve. So at this point, we're pretty much good to go ahead and complete, do the complete and submission process on that page. Another thing while you're going through the book, down here in the bottom corner, one thing that you may face when you're working with text, going through your pages, is what to do if you come across a red X in a text box. Well, red X in a text box, this is it's a visual warning letting you know that not all of the text in that text box is showing. So if I select it here, it may look like I've got red X in the text box. But what this X means is that there is other text in this text box that is being covered up. So to get this red X to go away, there's a couple of different ways to get it out of there, just depending on the situation. So one of the first things is just to make the text box deeper until it reveals all text inside. And then if we were to click off somewhere, that X is now gone away because we have all type showing now. Now another thing that can happen, I'm going to do this, is let's say that you do have all of the text showing. So why do we have this X here now? So one thing that will happen is once you get done typing the last letter of your book and you go to hit enter, that'll kind of put a hard return, and that's going to bring cursor down on the next line, and that's going to create an extra row of spacing. So in this instance, this red X is being caused by extra space. So if I click in here, if I can put a cursor under my last line of type, that's going to tell us that we have extra spacing, and we just need to backspace our cursor up behind the last letter of our last line, and that's then going to take the red X away from there. Then you just go up. Once you have that issue taken care of, and that was what we had right here on page 60. It was a text element has text that may not fit. So we have fixed that text. We have adjusted the size of our box. That X has gone away, and now we can hit save. Okay. All right, so now looking at our pages here, and whether, kind of determine on whether they're ready to complete or not, I have no issues under page 61, and I don't have any pages under page 60. So we are good to go here. I am going to try to see if I know another set of pages here that we can get to when we're ready for that complete process. Or maybe those pages will be ready by the time we go over a few different things. Another thing that we'll have here, or the program will want you to do before you submit your pages, is to run spell check on your pages. And you'll have to kind of do this for each page spread as you're moving through. So we're on a page spread like this. Before you'll mark the page complete, then I'll want you to run spell check. So I'm going to go ahead and run spell check for this page here. Now, one thing about the spell check It's not as robust as something like you would see in Microsoft Word, Publisher, or even some Outlooks like Gmail and or some email clients like Outlook and Gmail. It's going to catch obvious misspellings. So another thing, but what it's not going to do, it's not going to check on grammar, correct usage of a sentence or something's off. Now it's not going to check for correctly spelled words used incorrectly. As in a case with the there, and there. So I just want to put this out there when going through. So it's going to check for obvious mistakes, actual misspellings. But as far as grammar, it's not checking for that. It's also not checking for correctly spelled words that are the incorrect way. So with that pulled up, when you're going through, it's going to give suggestions. So on this one, I actually walk through is together on that. It's wanting to suggest, although I'm going to hit ignore on this one. On this text box, it said there is type in this text box that is misspelled. The spell check tool will find misspelled words. So instead, it's wanting to suggest tour. I need the word tool, so I'm going to hit tool, and then I'm going to hit change. As far as misspelled, I've got the right suggestion up here, and I'm going to hit change. And then for submitting, we'll do that. And on this one, it's text box, not textbook, so I am going to hit ignore on that. Then when there are no other spelling suggestions, what this will want you to do is run a proof on the page. So you click the proof button here. Yes, want to save my changes. And what the program is going to do, it's going to generate a PDF proof of your pages. One, it's just a review. It's just a safety in the program. It wants you to actually kind of review the pages before you submit them. This is also, you can also proof the pages, before submitting. You can either download these and save them digitally and email them to people for review, or you can just, print them out and, just hand them over to, or hand them to someone that will be kind of checking it, physically, kind of looking through your proof pages. So good way, definitely. The program will make you kind of proof the pages before you submit, but it's also definitely good to have these checked out by another set of eyes just before you send that in, because sometimes after you've been working on the book for so long, you're pretty used to what the book looks like and may not easily catch those certain little mistakes here and there. So we definitely suggest, print this out, have someone else help kind of take a look at this for you, because a lot of times a fresh set of eyes on your pages is just going to help. They're going to catch things that you may have missed just because you've been so ingrained in working on this and putting your hard-earned time into it. Stuff kind of blends in. You're not able to catch some of that sometimes. So, all right, so that's proofing there. And I'm going to have to come back to another page or something later and kind of show you how just to complete and then submit those pages, because these just did not unlock in time. So I'm going to jump back over how this looks in the program. But a lot of wrapping your book up is just going to be using this PreFlight panel that's right here. So I'm going to jump to another set of pages here. And actually, I'll go back to it. But some of the things that we do want to kind of point out to you when you're about to wrap things up are things to look out for. Because you'll go through, you'll definitely run on your PreFlight your checks for empty elements and stuff like that. But then when it gets to certain other things on how your pages look overall, or just some things that may hold this up in production. So on this class page here right now, one thing that can put your book on hold is dark type that's on dark backgrounds, or light type that's on light backgrounds. Usually when you're on a class page or something like this, whatever your type is, preferably for it to stand out and be very readable, it needs to have something like a good contrast, between light and dark there. So in a case like this, we have white text on a dark gray background. It really stands out and you can really read it easily. Whereas on this page right here, dark blue background, it has student names. Now I'm going to have to zoom that in pretty good just to see the names there. So if that were someone holding a book, they may actually have to bring that up closer to their face just so they can read the names. So dark text on dark backgrounds, something that you may want to adjust just for whoever will be looking at this book. Now, this same other side, if I slide over to the other side here, this is that same background, it's that same blue background, but I've put a tint on it to help kind of, bring those names, make those names pop out. So if you need to go through and lighten or tint any of your backgrounds, you'll go up to the edit menu, and you're going to click on change background. It's going to bring our background menu here. So we got the background color, but here on this menu there is the tint slider, and you can just use that slider to lighten up your pages there a little bit. So here I've lightened that up, and now that we can look at the names here, these names that were on this darker background can really pop out now, and you can really see who these kiddos are. Whereas before, no tint, it's pretty kind of hard to kind of see who that is unless you kind of really pull that book in closer. So definitely, one thing when you're looking at your pages, going through your backgrounds, just kind of check out your class pages. If there's type on there that's dark, you may look at changing that type color to something that contrasts and can be seen, better. It's more easily seen. So I'm going to go on. Nope, I'm going to save. Now another way to combat this is if you wanted to keep, let's say you wanted to keep that background, that dark blue. You didn't want to tint the background, but you wanted to keep the same. But another way of going about it is changing the name, or changing what font color that the names will flow in. So definitely, if you're on dark background, before you flow the students in, you can change the flow element to have the names in white. You just save that and then flow the students in. But definitely, if you don't tint the background, you can always change the color of the names. And let's see, I think I have a third. Nope, didn't have a third method. So the way I do have, I'm going to skip on over a page here, and just some other alternatives that you can do, like on busy backgrounds. So on this this page right here, I've got a very busy background that has doodles in part of the design, and it really kind of is hard with some of these names, to kind of see them over that spot. So one way that, a couple different ways for what we have on this spread. One of the first ways we have here is to stick a shape. Here, and I'm going to take this one out here. So I've got nothing here, but what we can do is we could take a shape and bring it onto a page. And just going to bring it in just a little bit. Now with this shape, I'm going to actually make it white. And then I'm going to hit arrange, and I'm going to send that to the back. this out. So it does kind of cover up most of that design in the middle, but we're now able to see the names more clearly. Now, one thing you can do, if you still want to see some of that design that's back there, with your shape selected, you come up to the Format and Effects, and we can give that shape a little bit of transparency. That just means make it see-through. So we can give it just a little bit of transparency to where we can still see the design, but the names are bold enough to kind of stand, or you can see those over top of that background design that is there. So that's just another way to go about it, is to stick a shape behind the float class kids and kind of give it a transparency. That way it will kind of lighten up what's on the background, but also makes these names stand out, and they don't get lost in part of in the design. Some other things that you can do here. So after the flow is done, you can expand the flow, and then you're able to work with the text boxes a little bit different. So in this case, with it expanded, you can then take your text boxes, and for these, I gave them, let me unpin that here. So if a box like this, it has, the text fill is black, but also has a shape fill of white and a shape stroke for the little border that goes around that box. So you can give it a fill, kind of bring it out and, actually put in a fill on the actual text box, and that'll make it pop out and where it's not getting lost in the design. Another way that you can do this with this text down below, I have the text, I'll zoom in here. So I have the text with just a yellow fill, and I have a stroke outline on the text here as well. So that will make, that stroke on there and being kind of in that will help this stand out really, really nice in these on these busy backgrounds. So just a couple different ways to kind of go about making sure names show. So again, where you can, you might check to see if light or tinting or lightening a background will help, or change the flow element to have a lighter text color for the names if on dark, and it's vice versa too. So if it's a light background, you're going to want to have a contrasting dark type there. So let's just want to go over a few examples, just how you can combat that, or go about fixing it, or just making sure names go. Because most of the time, if names are hard to see, the book will most likely be put on hold and come back to you to fix, and then go back into production. So no, we just wanted to make sure that you guys know how to kind of go about that, check for some of the stuff, and also kind of be aware of what may or may not hold your book up once you submit it. Okay, so we've gone through the pre-flight panel and how to kind of send that in, how to deal with troublesome backgrounds, or how to make things where your text is showing. Yes, gotta save my changes. Okay, the next thing we'll talk about here real quick is candid and bleed pages that are here. If you've done any bleed pages, if you've done a bleed page like this, just kind of some things to look out for on your photos, on if it'll get put on hold, or what you may want to avoid when building your page. So if you set up a candid page like this, images or what you put out to the edge is usually areas of the photo that you don't mind getting trimmed or having trimmed off. So in this case, on some of these photos, what you're looking for is, background. What we'll see here, open back, space that's not part of the main photo is getting trimmed. Here, just a little bit of some arm, but the main focus of the photo, main faces are with inside the margins here. On the inside, most of this kiddo's face here is still within the margin, so that's okay. It's just a little bit of his head will fall into the gutter. Here, nothing's really lost, just a little part of his elbow. Main core focus of the photos within the margins. Same kind of goes on here. Maybe just get a little bit of the hand here, but the main focus of the photo is here, so nothing really at risk of being trimmed. So what you'll want to look out for are images where a person's face or head or that are close or cropped really close to the edge or maybe near the top. So out of all these images here, this one works really well because there's empty space here, enough empty space here and here to fit in that corner, empty space below the desk that's not being used, and some kind of here, more or less bottom of the photo. This works well really at the top because there's a lot of open sky and open space up at the top. The only problem photo I have right here is this one right here. Now, on this photo, it would work if it were out to the edges because there's a lot of open space here on the sides. There's space here at the bottom. Where we run into trouble with this image is at the very top of this kiddo's head. So it's really close. When it goes out, the top of this kiddo's head's already out in the trim. So that could put him at risk, at risk of being trimmed. I have this guideline pulled down because when we go through into production, this spot that you see right here where it goes to full color to into the bleed, this is the estimated trim line. Now on any given day out in production, there could be up to a 1/8 inch variance in where that gets trimmed. So that's why we call it an estimated trim line. So if it does happen to fall short that day, factors involve, how well the trimmer's running, who the trim operator is, who's operating the machine that day, little things that can come in and just be little variables. But up to 1/8 inch variance there could be here. Now if it falls short, it's just taking more of this kiddo's image, or more of the top of his head away. So just when you're building class pages or collage pages, just make sure that whenever you're sending it in, just kind of be, is there anything that's at risk that being trimmed? And then if you need to move it to a better spot that might work better, like on the side, or like on this one would work good if it were moved to further down in the gutter here, or off to the side, or even at the bottom of the page. Moving over to the next one. Yep, I'll save my changes. Just some other things to look out for when you're wrapping it up. We have a few templates in our program that use text elements as part of the design. If you have used either this style of template that has little asterisks, or if you've used one one that has candids written all the way down, the PreFlight panel is gonna show that these elements that used as type are unedited. Now, before you're able to submit that page, one or two things, these will need to be retyped in order for the page to complete for you. So the fix here is easy. So if we need to get into this C, I just have to backspace that out and retype it, and then hit save. And that's going to take one away from this. So just wanted to put this out there, if you've used some of our templates that have text, the text element part will need to be retyped before the page will let you send it in to us. So I'm going to get those retyped real quick. And then if I hit save, okay, all those issues, I think they're on this page. They were on this side. So all those are now gone from that side. Now, if I were then ready to send this page in, I'd first mark it complete. And now from here, once you complete a page, you will have to do spell check through PDF before this button, the submit button, highlights for you so you can submit your page. Now, one thing we do suggest is when you're first reviewing your pages or submitting them, to go through first and make sure that all of your pages complete first. So go through and make sure they complete, then start doing your review, like checking your pages for content, double checking to see if you have duplicates or anything like that. Now, in the event that you find something, if it's just at a complete status, the advisor can hit the return button, put the page back in progress, and then we'll allow you to make those changes that you need to on a page. And we hit complete. Once you're done, you can hit complete again. So at this time, you can run spell check. Okay, no text really on this page, so I'm going to close that out. I want you to do a PDF proof of the page. And then once we have spell checked, we've done our proof. Then for this page, we can hit submit. And now submitted page is then locked from any further editing, and that sends that that page here to our presses. It'll actually be put into a queue waiting on the other pages. One thing when you're submitting pages, as you're going through here, you're finding stuff and fixing stuff. You can submit the pages in any order. When they submit in, they're uniquely named with their page number and everything. So once we have all of pages, our system puts them all in order by their page number. So if you're going through, don't feel like you have to just keep on doing one page in order. If you go through first and just start completing pages to make sure which page is complete and which have issues to still kind of work on, you can do that. Then after you get through that first round, you can then kind of circle back and then go work on the pages that need to have the issues fixed, and then complete and submit them, and whenever you get those changes done. So definitely kind of wanted to go through that. But yeah, a lot of your book can be just submitted right from here from this using this PreFlight panel. So remember, while you're reviewing your pages, this is going to highlight any issues that are here on the page. Whether it's empty text box, empty photo box, anything like that, it'll highlight where that is, so where you can then remove it. Then once everything's removed, mark the page complete, and then removed or fixed, sorry. Once everything's either moved or fixed, then you can complete it, run your spell check, run your proof, and then hit your submit button to send the page in. And then once you've done that, you kind of kick back for a little bit and wait for the books to be printed and enjoy, or wait for them to come so you can pass them out when they get done. So I've kind of gone through all that we were going to go through on kind of what to look for on a page, how to use the PreFlight panel. I do have a few minutes. I can stick around if we have any kind of questions on the submitting process. So I can unmute all, or if you want to unmute, or if you would rather ask your question in the chat box there. We'll gladly take any of there though. But any questions over what we've, any questions on what we've covered for today?
Can you hear me? Hello?
I hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I just have a few questions. What is the difference between like locking something like an image or something versus like locking the whole page?
Locking and well, locking down a page locks the whole page down from editing. So if a page on the page ladder, so what page? Okay, let me take track of what page I have here. Page 72. So if I'm back on plan and page ladder, so I could lock the whole page by clicking this little lock icon. And then if I were to jump back onto the page, wasn't supposed to do that. I'm in as advisor, so it's going to let me edit it. But a locked page means it's just you can no longer edit it at that point. Since I'm in as advisor, I'm able to make those kind of changes there. Now, if I go back to plan, I'm going to unlock the page here. All right, now, so a locked page, nothing can be edited on. A locked element is just if I have this selected, I can lock this element in place. And that just means I can move anything around the page except for that one element is in position. So that's all. Where a locked page, you can't move anything. Locked element is just one item on the page selected and locked.
Excellent. And that goes for text or images, correct? If you lock those elements?
Yes. Yeah. If it'll go for text or shapes or photos. Yes. Yep.
I once called in and they said that the horizontal, what do you call that bar up there? The midpoint was 24. What's the midpoint for the vertical?
Let's see here. Sometimes I have to zoom in because it's 52 by 68 picos. 34 is what I think it's supposed to be here.
Okay.
We kind of.
Yeah, because I was brought in as an editor, so I attended this webinar because this is the final stages. So I just want to make sure.
Yep. 34.
Excellent. And is there a function where I can proof the whole thing at the same time so I can print it out or, get the admin approval?
Yes. Yes, and I'm glad you asked that too, because that's one thing we normally show in this webinar. So if you're looking to do a full book proof, you'll go under plan and you'll go to page ladder. I'll just save my changes first. Now I'll go to plan and page ladder. And up at the top, you'll see a print drop down. And you're going to go and select print all. And what that's going to do is the program is then going to start generating a kind of a low to medium resolution proof of a PDF proof of the whole book. So it could take it a few minutes to generate. Once it is done, it'll say finished, and you click on that finished button, and the PDF will then pop up on screen to where you can then either download it and save it digitally or run it out to a printer.
Wonderful. Now, if I have trouble with the aesthetics, including fonts, is there a way to change all the headline fonts, or I gotta go through each one and do it manually?
It is doing it manually, and it's doing it page by page.
Mm-hmm. And I would just click on it on the text box and highlight it and then change the font?
Yes. Yeah, so you would be, just an example, I'm just going to select the text box. You know, if you already had type in there, you could select it and then just choose another font that you had in your font collection.
Okay. If I had two text boxes right on top of each other and I wanted to center both text boxes along with their print, is there a quicker way, or I have to just eyeball it?
If they were the same, well, if they were the same size, kind of something like I have here,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would make sure that they were kind of lined up with each other. But you can actually have more than, more type. You wouldn't have to have two like that. You could have all the type in one box. A lot of times is having these the same size lined up, and then you could, kind of center the text in them like this.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible to have, I'm gonna like copy the second box, cut actually the text and then add it to the first and then do it there. But can you have two different types of fonts in the same text box?
You can. I don't really recommend it, but you can.
Okay. Even the size would, you can change sizes within the same text box?
You can. It starts after. Sometimes it kind of gives the program a little bit of fits just when you're reviewing, or if you're trying to space certain things a different way. I mean, it's possible. You can do it. You might run into some things, kind of weird spacing with it sometimes. But yes, very possible.
And then finally, could you remind me where I can find the page number editing stuff? Like I want it in the center and I want a little circle type around it or something. Is that somewhere under editing things?
I mean, as far as page numbers, here, I'll take the one off this page here. A page number, so if one comes off, you need to re-add them. You'll go to the text tab. You'll just grab the page number style and drag it onto the page. When you do it this way, the page number comes on at this point. It's like any other element that is here. So it can be moved. You can position this to your liking. You can fill, I mean, it's like any other text box at this point. You can give it a fill. You can change the color. Anything like that. So there's very simple things. So, I mean, it's like a text box, so you can get creative with it. You can even kind of come through here if you wanted. I'm just going to toss a shape into the corner here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
So, I mean, you kind of play with it just a little bit like that.
Nice. Is that your recommendation is everything in text and has a picture should be within the purple borders within, because you get that message?
Preferably, I mean, just so you're not putting any faces or anything like that. Preferably, you want to keep stuff inside your margins here. But when I'm talking about earlier, what we were talking about as far as if you make bleed pages,
Mm-hmm.
so you're fine to bleed stuff out to the edges. It's just you'll want to watch what you put out close to the edge. Um, so just that way you don't have faces or anything kind of like this, or the top of heads being kind of trimmed off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you're looking for images that you do put out to the bleed. Make sure what you have in the trim is not anything that you have to worry about being trimmed off, like just background of the photo, just open areas.
Excellent. And finally, the once you expand a flow, you can no longer get back. Correct.
Correct. Yeah. Once you reset or once you expand a flow, then if you need to get it back into a flowable state, you basically have to kind of clear the students off the page and put in a new flow element and kind of start over.
Excellent. I appreciate your extra time.
No problem. No problem. So just we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up for today. Appreciate the questions. It kind of gives a little more into our webinar here on just things to look out for. So some things to do, after submitting pages, please email your customer rep to let them know you have submitted your pages. When we put the book into production, you will receive a confirmation email with all the specifications of your book. If you make a mistake, we ask that you let us know right away. Once you submit a page, it's no longer can be edited. Now, once your book is in production, there may be a charge to stop the book, so we can make that correction. So just if you do find anything, give us a call right away. Give us a call, that next morning, very early. That way, we can get that kind of stopped. That way, you don't have to incur, and hopefully you don't have to incur any extra charges or anything like that. Then also you will receive an invoice about 10 days after submission. So those are just some things to look forward to after submitting. So once again, everybody, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I hope our webinar has helped reduce the stress of submitting your yearbook pages. If you have any questions or have a problem arise, please feel free, give us a call here in technical support or your customer rep for help. So we look forward to receiving your books and enjoying seeing all of your creative ideas. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. You have a great rest of your afternoon, and we will talk to you and take to you later, and hopefully we get to see a good looking yearbook come our way. So take care.
Thank you. Well done.
Thanks. All right. Bye, everybody.